This kind of black kind of, this is Eastern Avenue here. And he's trying to, that's south on that side, and so he's trying to kind of bracket or cradle a series of low-rise glass buildings with a big, we call it sometimes the Darth Vader building, but we quite like it. There's another piece of it, or the building. And the interesting thing about the developers, David Wex from Urban Capital, he said he chose Saussure because of the industrial character of the site and the fact that he had seen many of his buildings in New York and in Montreal, and they were very edgy and kind of raw. I thought that was really interesting because he went looking for an architect who could do a building like this as opposed to just bricky buildings. The block in is Baird Sampson. This is King Street and River Street, St. Lawrence Street, affordable housing facing south, pretty much now on a more normative typology. And then this building, which I think is really going to be great. It's really going to be great. This is a district energy plant. It's underneath this long bar building banked up against the escarpment, but there's public access up onto the platform, so you can just see over the railway cars. And then there is an element, a very sculptural piece, which forms a cover over a transit loop, and also is kind of a symbol, but it has solar power in it. So this is, you know, the Cherry Street streetcar will roll underneath that, and I think it's going to be, amazing. It's the section. And then the East Bay front, you know, huge, 55 acres, slightly more public in nature. One of the most awful aerial renderings that you might ever encounter, but none of the buildings will end up looking like this. I swear they will not look like this. This is really just holding space right now. So you see across from left to right, so this is Water's Edge, Queens Quay, Loblaws is over there at Jarvis. This is Sherbourne in the middle, and then Parliament. Towers are at the north end of the scheme. The secret to this is to get Queens Quay right. The Water's Edge, I think, will more or less look after itself. These are the projects, all concurrent, landscape and architecture. On the far left, Claude Cormier from Montreal is doing another beach, another urban beach. Why? Because they're popular, and people don't have cottages. Then there's Jack Diamond's Chorus building, which is really for 1,300 creative workers in radio and television, animation. George Brown College is on 2 sites, and they both front onto Great Smallenberg Sherbourne Park. Queens Quay is going through an EA right now. Sherbourne Park goes north and south of Queens Quay, and Parkside is a proposal call that's just been awarded. It's just being negotiated. And then West 8 is doing all the continuity on the south side of Queens Quay along the Water's Edge and Parliament Slip. So this is the last, the biggest one. This is Claude Cormier's Sugar Beach. I'm not sure if there will be pink umbrellas on the beach, but there will be umbrellas. And then it links to, you're seeing the west loft of the Chorus building. This came to design review, was in the papers. It was really quite a year of debate. But the debate is, from the design panel perspective, it's really how do you interact with this building as a member of the public as opposed to being someone who works for Chorus. And specifically on the Water's Edge, can we go in that building? Is there a restaurant that we can have a meal at? This is Phillips Farbag Smallberg, and Jill Anhold has done a series of these sculptural, sustainable water elements, a little bit like Cumberland Park, but there's 3 of them, and they're filtering the water that's coming back to the south. In the middle is a large disc water feature, which is skating in the winter. I think it's going to be fantastic. And Steve Teeple is kind of wild, isn't he? I mean, he's a wild man, but he's great to have in the city, because this is the Park Pavilion, which will be really incredible. I think people will come here just to look at his pavilion. More normative, West 8, with this funky bench that deals with, you know, the 2 levels. There's a boardwalk that's on the water. Just some details of sustainability. And then this is going to be fabulous. This is a really big platter with holes cut out of it at the Parliament. Ken is going to deal with this. One of the projects people don't know is a 1,000-acre wildlife precinct all by itself that James Corner is master planning And its master plan is coming up for approval, but it's an incredible piece of real estate. It's so odd, right? And he's come up with a concept called bows and transepts, which are these long linear, it's almost like the spine of a fish with branches that go to all the various points where wildlife, there are all sorts of canoers, it's dunes, it's really wild Toronto, but it's going to be a fantastic landscape. So finally, I just want to end with the role of architecture, because I think waterfront architecture, my rule would be cover up the water and guess where the building could be. And I think this is an incredible building. I went down there to see it because it was sort of in a waterfront like ours, and it was the first building out. But it's totally about engagement with being there on the water. And this building, which I've written about and I want to go see, which is their opera house in Oslo, which is really a public promontory. And Snøhetta, I mean, we know their projects are great, but this is the kind of project that I think would be amazing on our waterfront. Be a piece of the new geomorphology. And then I jumped a plane and I went up to see this project, which cost $19 million. And Weissman Freddy made something that I think is a truly remarkable thing, because it will deal with, we need something like this in Toronto to deal with the railway and the Gardner. They're taking the Gardner down one piece at a time, but sometimes you actually have to do something a lot more than that. And so I would hope that one of the big visions for the city where I started was you can spend all the money you want on the water's edge, but really you have to connect to the waterfront. So with that, Greenburg.
So, first of all, just to pick up on Bruce's comment, I want to stress that this is clearly a collective exercise. It involves many, many people, and cities have their moments. The baton kind of passes from city to city around the world as we all learn about these things, and there are certain points where cities develop the energy, the set of collaborations and relationships among people, and things just start to happen and they gain momentum. And I have had the special privilege of working with Bruce on a number of things, sometimes on the same team, sometimes, as in this case, working at different scales, switching roles. I was head of urban design at the City of Toronto. Bruce was actually doing projects within the larger scale urban design world that I was looking after. And in this case, I am working on pieces of this world where Bruce is playing an oversight role as chair of the Design Review Committee. So the piece that he has led up to and that I'm going to talk about is this section here. It's about 350 acres of land referred to as the Lower Don lands. It has a particular set of circumstances, but really at the genesis of it is a decision by the Toronto Harbour Commission in the first decade of the 20th century to fill in what was the largest wetlands on the Great Lakes and to form this 1,000-acre Portland area, which was going to be a very large industrial precinct, ported, of course, by the Depression, the other Depression. And within that, the decision to take the river, which had fed this magnificent wetland, and actually turn it into a right-angle elbow turn called the Keating Channel, and send it out in a trench into Toronto Harbour. And that has caused all kinds of problems over the years. And recently, the Toronto Conservation Authority, the Toronto Regional Conservation Authority, has had the mandate of dealing with floodproofing at the lower end of the Don River. So, flashback to 2007, what we were faced with is a series of what would have been discrete projects, each being done with its own environmental assessment for floodproofing naturalization, the extension of light rail into this